in America, 2,000 acres per day get developed by urbanization. In a given year, that's 740,000 acres. That's 750,000. And then per second, 4.3 acres get developed. So farmland's only going up because you're getting less of it.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of The Report. Today, I got someone who's making waves in the music industry. He is a singer-songwriter, and he is only 21 years old, but making a big splash. I got my man, Blake Schmitz. Blake, welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, Rich, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, dude, and congratulations, my man. 150,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. That is no easy thing, bro. Congrats.
Thank you. It's been a journey for sure.
Yeah, dude. So you're from Minnesota, farm life, farmland, and then you're doing the music thing. And you're doing both. You're truck driving, you're out in the farmland, you're working, you're grinding, but then you're doing shows, you're singing, you're recording music, you're writing songs. How did this all come to fruition? What is that like doing both of those?
It's different lifestyle than most. I think that what makes it so special is the fact that I get to live both. Not many people get the opportunity to A, farm, and then B, I guess be an entrepreneur in a certain realm that they love. I started writing songs back when I was in middle school, and it was more of a hidden journaling type lifestyle of how I did it. I just love the rhythmic feel of it. I just love creating. I was always the kid in class who always asked the teacher too many questions. So I just love learning, and I always thought I could better myself in many ways because I played sports, my whole life, football, basketball, baseball, ran track. So it's always that grind of always trying to better yourself. And I guess I never thought anything of music. I never was going to do anything music-wise. But dude, one thing after the other, God just had a plan, and it just literally, it manifested into what it is today.
What's the biggest challenge for you? I'm curious, because obviously, you're on the come up right now. And so as we grow, I experienced a little bit of this as well. As we grow, there's more eyeballs, there's more people that want to meet you. 150,000 downloads on Spotify monthly. That's a big deal. What's the biggest challenge for you as you kind of navigate this come up?
The biggest challenge is, I guess, trying to figure out what works. I mean, you find what works, but I loved Alex Hormozy said at one time. He's like, if you just keep doing what works and you invest everything into what works, eventually it'll die. You got to have something fortune favors the brave. So you got to keep exploring different avenues, putting a little bit of capital, a little bit of time into something that it might bite you. It might bite you really bad, and you might lose money, you might lose time. But that little bit that you invested into that other thing might be a better option than the current alternative that you're running right now. So it's oh, well, that's kind of been the hardest thing, is figuring out what works. And then when it works, okay, we run this much on it. How much do we keep trying to do and keep growing? So
Yeah. And what are those things that are working well for you right now? Because I'm curious, when I grow a podcast, I grow a social media account, or we grow a real estate portfolio, there's certain levers that we can obviously pull. But for you, what is that biggest lever as a musician in terms of the growth? Do you think it's more so the branding and the content perspective, or is it more so just putting out pure good music? What do you think is more important?
First off, you got to have a good product. You can't have a good brand if your products are bad. You don't want that great value, that brand. You want a good brand, right? So you need your products need to be good, which are your songs. So I myself and my brand and my personal brand, my songs are my products, and then my advertising is my Instagram, my TikTok, my YouTube, and that's how I establish my brand, and that's how I kind of do that. I have a insane ads manager from Ohio who literally, he game plans it all. He's okay, this is what's working. These are the costs per clicks. How do we make these better, and how do we do it better? And he's been a great guy to have on the team.
Really? Okay, so you guys are utilizing a lot of ads to grow.
The ads are, they're what took me from 400 monthly listeners, 12 months ago to...
Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
That's
so how do you guys, what's the concept behind the ad, and what do you guys have on the ad?
So it depends. First off, it's where are you targeting? Because I don't know if it is for podcasting, but for music, you get paid different based on the country that it gets streamed out of. So you have tier 1 and tier 3 countries. Think of it first world, third world type thing. That's based off of who pays Spotify premium subscriptions. So it can vary. Some of your tier 1 might be tier 2 type stuff. But basically, if you're going to target a certain demographic, you've got to have a good ad that fits that demographic. And a lot of the time, if I'm being honest, I'm not in any of those ads. It's movie clips. It's anime.
Really?
Yeah. It's just people fall in love with that visual, but they also are like, "Dang, that song," 'cause it fits it. It's like a
Got
music
it. Okay,
video.
so it's gonna have your song
Yeah.
in the ad,
Yeah.
and then you're gonna have B-roll, and it could be B-roll of a clip out of a movie, anime, and then give me an example of one ad. Like your best performing ad, what is it?
I hate to say it, but it's like it's just a simple anime of my song just playing, and it's just a bunch of different animes meshed together because you gotta hit that dopamine spike by just sparking it with some different constantly. That's just how people's, I guess, brain work. So he just constantly the way he built it was just like different anime, but it's like spliced together, good transitions, and the music just hits every time the transition goes. So when the beat drops, it just works really
And
well.
then what's the call to action there? Like, give me the flow. So someone's watching this ad, they like it, and then what's the next step?
Oh, well, below says like listen now type thing.
And it takes them to Spotify?
Yeah. And they're like,
Okay.
oh, I like this.
Yeah.
And then some ads actually, depending on which ones we have going where, some ads take you to my page of Instagram. So that's how I grow like my followers. Is like because you don't just want to. What I've learned is it's weird to have a big Instagram and a small like channel of like I guess if you want to call it channel, but on like Spotify and stuff. But it's weird to have also a big Spotify and a small Instagram. It's like if you can grow everything at once, it just looks uniform. It just looks better. It just makes sense.
So Instagram you mentioned, and then when you mention these other channels, what are those other channels for you?
YouTube.
Okay.
Obviously, the best thing about YouTube is you get that kind of short and long term because you got the clips on or the shorts on YouTube, and then you got the long format. But that's something I don't really invest in yet. Is any long format like a vlog or anything? All my long format is simply my songs. So people go to YouTube and I get streams that way. People go to there's like I'm sure you know this like 30, 40 different places people can stream your music. So it's just kind of I guess where they're going and how do
Yeah.
you get your hands on all of them?
Yeah. What would you say is number two? So you got YouTube, well, Spotify, YouTube, and then what's the next platform out there for like streaming?
Apple.
Apple
Apple's
Music,
definitely right
and
up
then what's
there.
after that?
Amazon.
Really?
Yeah.
People listen to Amazon
Hey
music on
Alexa,
Amazon.
play this, and that's
Mm.
how you get a lot. Or like, you got Deezer. If you ever heard of
Yeah.
Deezer, you got that one too. I might be missing one in there, but I don't. There's so many.
So how do people today make money as a musician? So obviously back in the day it was like you get record label deals and you sell X amount of albums, people had to buy CDs, and then that was a big portion of their income. And then obviously you get the brand deals, you go perform. But now what does that look like in terms of like Spotify, Apple, I have an Apple podcast, Apple Music subscription. I think it's like $9.99 a month, right? But I can listen to unlimited artists, unlimited songs from all these artists across the world. So how do you guys get compensated for these downloads?
So for the download side of things, I like to think of it like this: each platform pays different. Spotify being one of actually not the best. YouTube's the best. So Spotify pays 0.0003 per stream, cents wise. I'm talking. Apple's 0.0004, and YouTube's 0.0007. So basically, it's like okay, YouTube pays the most, but Spotify holds the most market share. So you're going to get more streams on Spotify. So really, that kind of equals out to 0.007, 0.003, kind of it evens out. And what I've
And
learned
so
is
how to make $1, how many downloads is that? Do you know?
to make $1.
And I can bring
Yeah,
out my calculator.
math.
So you said it's point what?
0.000, 3 zeros and then a 3.
Okay, so 1 divided by 0.0003. Okay, so 33, basically 3,333 downloads to make $1. Okay, and that's for Spotify.
Yep.
Okay,
So what's interesting though is I don't use their formulas because I'm like that's too complicated. What I use is my own. I've realized if you have 100,000 followers on Spotify, you make $1,000 a month.
Mhm.
So per month. So when you see someone with 1 million, they're making 10 grand a month. When you see someone with 10 million, they're making 100 grand a month. That's all based off streams per listener too, because one listener might listen to you 20 times, another might listen to you once. So those are rough numbers, but that's kind of what I've learned. It's like 100,000 monthly listeners, $1,000 a month off of streams. But in the music space, you can make so much money from live music or
right.
anything.
And so like and that was kind of where I was getting is like that's not the play anymore. It's like downloads, that's not the play. You're not going to sell CDs or albums. the play is what brand deals and being in
A hundred
person
percent.
doing shows.
Yeah, it's like your podcast is a tool, right? So if you can go speak at a conference and they might pay you X amount of dollars, that's the same as me going to play a live show. It's like you're gonna return more going to these conferences, going to these live shows versus online doing the digital stream stuff. But the digital streams will cover it's like your bottom dollar. It's what's coming in, what's going out, cover your advertising, just a constant flow, constant exchange. But yeah, going to live shows, that's where like touring brand deals, like you said, yeah, you can make good money that way.
What does the average musician make at a live show?
Depends on the size. So when you're up and coming, you'll constantly find people paying to be on a bigger show because it's exposure. The big artist knows that too, so they're like, well, if you're gonna open for me, you gotta pay to play. So actually, you might go to lose money, but it's building the brand. It's like, okay, invest now, sacrifice, delay gratification. That's the constant method, and so many people want to reap the rewards early, and it's not that game. It's dreaming decades.
Yeah.
That's what it
Delay
is.
gratification.
Yeah.
So when you say you got to pay to play, like you'll have to pay for your own flights, your accommodation, you go play for free.
No. You would have to pay the main artist.
Really?
Yeah, because
No.
well, they're giving you the advertising, the free
Oh,
exposure.
I see what you're saying.
Like
Okay, so you
they're
gotta
bringing the people to the arena. You're getting the opportunity to perform in
got
front of
it.
them.
I didn't know that's how it worked.
That is one way. Unless you are built in, into a record label or you're, because I'm an independent artist. So I don't have a team of XYZ. I'm not with a record label, nothing. It's just me, myself, and I out there in a tractor living the dream. But basically, uh,
You're saying that you're a one person team.
yeah.
Yeah, and we were talking about how a lot of these people pay to play
Oh,
when
yeah.
they go on to perform. I didn't know that was a thing. You said
Yeah.
there's another way to do it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So you got the record label that if they would just get you in, if you were part of a record label, they had a different artist, they'd put you on with them.
Oh, I see. The
Or it's
record
like,
label is connected to all these artists,
yeah,
and they'll connect.
yeah, they're like, oh, we have a big artist, we'll show our smaller one up with them. Because why wouldn't you? You're giving your next up and coming artist exposure with the
Now,
big one.
question for you. So, if I'm a big name artist and I'm the headline of the show, and let's say I bring the majority of the people that are going to be there, why wouldn't I want someone opening up for me that's also going to like bring a lot of people there and like even make this show that much better and memorable versus having someone that's like kind of up and coming that no one really knows yet?
Well, if your contract says that you are in charge of your live shows, I guess you can. So a lot of artists will have different contracts with different rules. A lot of them, like versus streaming live shows and stuff. Some big artists make contracts with Live Nation, who owns like all the venues, and there's like it's a whole separate legal contracts and separate from the record label even. But some are tied with the record label. But I see your point. I agree 100%, and that's when I think it gets into the second realm of like close friends. Because if they know of someone that's like, oh, I love this guy, he fits my demographic of listeners. Yeah, come on with me for a tour. Come on, like that happens where you don't have to pay to play. They just will know you personally, and they love what you do. So you do got that option, but that's a network game, so that's hard too.
Yeah, I see UFC does a good job of this. Like they'll have like a big like main event and then they'll try to stack. Dana White will try to stack a bunch of big fights below it. And that's usually what makes a really, really good fight night it's just a stacked card where everyone's going to want to buy it. Everyone wants to be there. But same thing with some of these shows. I feel like sometimes I'll see like local concerts in town. They do a lot of concerts across the street at the Waterfront Park. And I'll go to some of these shows, but sometimes it's like, it's just a stacked lineup. And then sometimes it's like the headliner brings a lot of people. And then there's like 3 or 4 sets before. And I'm like, I've never heard of any of these people.
Yeah. And what's interesting too is you ever be watching UFC and
Mm,
sometimes the main event isn't the best.
yes. And that's why. Right?
Yeah. It's like, huh. So that's kind of the thing is like, if you can have them leave the arena, the stadium, and being like, the person we came to see was good, but that one kid, Blake Schmitz, like he really rocked the stage. Like that's what you're doing. You are betting on yourself, and that's the game that it is. If you don't think that you're putting out quality products of songs, basically, and you don't think that you can perform, or I mean, if you don't believe in yourself, you ain't gonna make it. And in the industry,
What's it like coming out on stage in front of, what's the biggest stage you performed on? How many
it was
people?
a couple thousand.
Okay, what does that feel like?
Dude, it's more fun when you see them singing every song that you wrote. Like that's fun when you see the interaction, when you see the the love for what you've created, that is electric. The
Yeah.
vibe, the feeling, it's just like,
You
and
ever get butterflies?
no, I've never gotten nervous for
Really?
anything.
At all?
Yeah, sports or anything, like, it never.
Damn. That's impressive, man.
Well, I just feel like preparation, if you come prepared, what's there to be nervous about? If you don't come prepared, I could see why you'd be nervous, but, like, if you know who you are and you know what you do, why be nervous? Just go out there and rock it. When you interact with the crowd too, their energy, you feed off of it, so the bigger the crowd typically is, the better the show.
What are some things you do to connect with the crowd and vibe with the crowd?
I love little ad libs in between.
Like that, what's that mean?
It's like where you see them doing something out there and you're like, and you acknowledge it. You give them a little bit of acknowledgement, a little bit of like feel that you see them. I mean, that's huge to them. They're like, oh, he pointed at me, or he said that, or like, yeah, people just love to feel like they're
So if someone's
acknowledged.
like rocking a cool sign, you could shout out the sign.
Yeah,
Or rocking a cool shirt, you could shout it out.
exactly. People
Hey, I
love
see
it.
that hat out there. Da da da. Okay. What's another example?
Another example, like of on stage, how I interact with the crowd.
Yeah.
Basically, I've seen this happen all the time. Is you just kind of you put sides against each other, like left versus right. Like who can sing it louder, and then like left sings, and you're like, okay, right side, and then you have them do it together, and people just love being a part of it versus just watching. They wanna feel like they did something to be there. They want to
Okay.
feel
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I
yeah.
like it. I like it.
And
It's competitive.
yeah, what I've learned the most about is typically the people who are there, they're a reflection of who you are, because you attract with like, for you, your podcast, for me, my music, you attract the listener type of who you are. So the people who are supporting you, the people who are listening, are like-minded, loving the same stuff as you. So you're just building
Hmm.
basically a big network of people who are just like you.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's big, man. That's really big. I get a little bit nervous when I come on and speak the first few times, especially, and then now not as much. I actually prefer the bigger the crowd, the better. I
Yeah.
feel like I will put on a better show when I'm speaking if it's like a bigger crowd, and then sometimes if I'm like speaking on like a smaller crowd, I'm like I don't get as hyped.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with if I go on like another podcast. If I know there's gonna be a lot, if it's a bigger name podcast, I'll get more hyped. There's just more energy that comes with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it's like an adrenaline rush.
It is an
Kinda.
adrenaline rush.
Yeah. Because you go into the smaller stuff, it's like you don't get that energy to feed off of, and people aren't really interactive and stuff. But if it's maxi packed and people are just like loving you, it's a different vibe.
Tomorrow night is we got our big event,
Yeah.
and I'm excited for it. It's gonna be sick. I'm gonna get on. I'm gonna do a podcast with the Yin Yang Twins, and I'm gonna get on stage, and I'm gonna talk before we do the giveaways. I don't know what I'm gonna say yet, so I got to think about what I'm gonna say. I usually just kind of wing it, but I think with this one, I'll probably have some bullet points in my head that I want to like cover. So, but I'm getting a little bit of butterflies right now because it's 24 hours ahead. There's been a lot of anticipation for this event, and I know there's going to be a lot of big names there, and I'm excited for it. But I do have a little bit of butterflies because I know I got to host the whole thing.
I love it.
Yeah,
What I've learned a lot is I hear this all the time from my family, my friends, is be yourself. I mean, that's essentially what got you there. So just be yourself. People will love you because they already do love you. So it's like, just be yourself.
yeah,
That's what I've learned.
that's so good. I like that. So, I'm curious for these folks out there that are like trying to make it right now in the country music industry. I had Todd Miller on the show. He was doing big things out in he still is doing big things out in Nashville. But for him, he moved into Nashville to make a name for himself, and so he's playing at a lot of shows and doing some cover songs and all that sort of stuff. And then throughout the night, he'll kind of mix in some of his own stuff, and that's kind of how he's building his thing. But he's like working a day job in between, and like he's grinding, he's hustling. What are the different paths for an inspiring new country music singer that's like, hey, I'm gonna go pursue this career. I want to make it big. What are those common paths that they take?
Well, you got the Nashville path, like you just said. That is the biggest, and that's it's like go big or go home there type lifestyle. I think a lot of people get discouraged when they go there because they see, oh, someone. It's like when you see an influencer that's like way bigger than you, and you're like, oh, they're doing so much better than me. It's like the art of comparison. That's why I love what I do is I have none of that comparison. It's just me versus myself every single day, and it's like You either get better or you get worse. You never stay the same. Day in, day out. The only constant in the world is change. That's the only constant. So it's like, okay, if that's the only constant, I want to change to get better. So how do I do that? So I think all an artist got to do for their different paths and stuff, just grind and work harder and get 1% better every day. If you get 1% better every day, that's 365% better in a year. People think it's 100, but it's like, no, you're getting one. It's insane. People just got to work hard. Just believe in yourself. Never give up. When you give up, you're licked. That's what my grandpa always told me, and it resonates. So
Yeah, I love that. So, okay, so we talked about the Nashville path. We get the path that you're going down. Is there another place in the country that's similar to Nashville where you can go and do it?
I mean, LA,
LA.
but that's more for your like hip hop. I guess it's for any genre, but it's just typically those two. You
Mhm.
know, I guess you got your Atlanta, but that's hip hop
Yeah.
too.
But now with social media today,
Yeah,
I think it's really like level the playing field, right?
absolutely.
What is the best path in your estimation with the social media? Like, I know a lot of it carries over. I know a lot of it transitions, but like, what do you think is the key to growing a social media audience through the music industry?
I would say it's making them fall in love with the brand, which is you. But first, you got to build that brand. And just use your music on every post. I've tried influencer advertising. That didn't work too good for me. But if you blow up on social media, you will be the biggest artist of that year. It's just it's proven. If you look at Spotify Rap came out with like all the top artists of this year, and it's all the people who blew up this year. Tommy Richmond with $1 Million Baby, like he's number 2 this year, or like stuff like that. It's like people who blew up on TikTok, Instagram, they are the ones that essentially made it.
Yeah.
So it's like if you can do that, and you're right, there's so many people, touch the fingertips wherever they are. You can talk to them. You just got to have that good content, or just that it's just got to spark. It's got to hit them. So
Yeah. My I don't know if you met him, but Jordan, he's on the other side of this
yeah,
podcast studio right now. He does all my editing. He is a DJ.
really,
And he DJs like some pretty big shows. I didn't know for the longest time. He kind of kept it a secret from the team and from myself. But he was traveling all over the country to do shows like on the weekends. He recently played at Red Rocks
oh
out in
wow,
Colorado, and he didn't want me to know because he's like, he didn't. He said his old workplace, like they weren't cool with that kind of stuff, and so he was nervous to share it. I was like, dude, I think that's badass. I was like, dude, like let me know what I can do to help you build it. So anyways, he's going out all over the country performing. I think he's going up to Oregon this weekend.
oh cool,
I'm sorry, Portland. Yeah, Portland, Oregon this weekend. He was at Red Rocks performing in front of 10,000
that's
people.
insane.
DJ Jordan Moody and is his name. So DJ Jordan Moody is his name, but killing it. And so I'm telling him, I'm like, bro, you gotta double down on the social media content, and really go all in on that brand. I think that is the name of the game. I mean, it's regardless of industry, personal brand I think is the most valuable thing you could build for yourself in 2025. It's changed my life in so many ways. And it's the same thing, man. But like, I think as a musician or an actor, singer, songwriter, athlete, maybe not athlete, but all these other avenues, you could almost throw an athlete
Yeah,
that the brand is going to get you the dollar signs, even more than being a really good athlete. Like think about all these big boxing matches now, like, Jake Paul, and Logan Paul. I mean, these guys are YouTubers, and they're bringing on these big name fights. These are like the big dollar fights where these guys that have been, obviously Jake and Logan Paul are YouTubers, and Jake is a pretty damn good fighter.
yeah,
But there's people that are better fighters that can't make a
like
tenth of what he's making.
yeah, like Ryan Garcia, like he is
Ryan Garcia's a beast.
unreal.
Unreal.
And it's like, I mean, that guy should be the headliner, the big name.
Yeah.
But they have that brand. So
And
it's-
Ryan's been pumping the content though.
Oh
lately.
yeah, he's doing
I
good.
when I met him in Miami, he came back to my Airbnb that night in Brickell, and Ryan Garcia and I, like, we hung out all night long. And at the time, he wasn't putting out much content. I was like, bro, you got to fucking start putting out the content. You got to start shoving it down their throats. And I don't know if it was me that got in his ear or what, but like he just started shoving out the content. And he really, really grew. And then he went and fought Devin Haney in April this year, beat him. And I was shocked. I was impressed, but I was a little bit surprised because this dude was like, he was partying pretty hard when I met him. And it's only 6 weeks before the fight.
Oh dang,
Yeah.
okay.
And he was ripping it pretty hard. Late night, And I was like, damn, this guy's got a fight in 6 weeks, like a prize fight. And then he went, he was a big underdog. Vegas odds were against him. And he went and ripped Devin Haney. And so, I think it makes you realize, like, yeah, there's levels to the game. And, anything can happen in the fight world. But yeah, he's the top boxer in the world right now. I want to get Ryan on the podcast. He's got roots in San Diego. He follows me on Instagram. We got to get Ryan Garcia on the podcast. I got to make that happen.
Yeah, this is a shout out. This is the PSA, guys. Ryan,
Yes.
if you're hearing this, get on here.
Yeah, let's go, big Ryan. But anyways, I say all this in that the content, the personal branding is the biggest thing I think you could build for yourself, whether you're an athlete. Like, look at Conor McGregor. Out of all these UFC fighters, like, Conor did have his fame as a fighter, but he really, really captured and capitalized on that attention that he had, because the window of attention is only so long. Whether you're a football player, NFL star, you're a singer, that window of opportunity where you do have eyeballs is only so long. Conor captured that,
Yeah.
rolled it in a proper 12 whiskey.
That's what I was going to
sold
say.
it for 600 mil. And he's got, even more important than that, he's got that attention, the brand, he's got the audience. Anything he wants to touch is there's money there.
Yeah. You're exactly right. You're spot on the money. And your brand speaks for yourself
Yeah.
when you can't speak for yourself.
No, it does.
It's the best thing to have.
If you love real estate investing, passive income, and tax benefits, but don't have the time, my company, Summers Capital, is buying boutique hotels right now. We source the deals, we renovate the properties, and we even handle all the day-to-day management, making it truly hands-off for our investors. If you want to learn more to see if we can help you, visit summerscapital.com/invest to book a call with our team. Again, that's summerscapital.com/invest. Now back to the show.
So how often are you performing as you look into 2025? We're coming to the end of 2024 here. What's your goal here for 2025? Are you going to try to, like, really grow this by getting in front of a lot of people and doing live shows? What's your one thing that you're going to double down on next year?
Yeah, so getting in person, it's the best way, because you make the most realist connection with someone. They love you because they get to actually know who you are. And that's what I'm working on, but I want to have the right opportunities, because taking away from my other side of my business, it's tough. So it's like, okay, if I want to improve that side of it, I have to take away from here. So it's just got to make sense for me on that way. But my goals, I want to just keep expanding and have a similar year of percentages as I did this last year. It's going to be tougher. It's going to be a lot harder. But if I did it 1 year, why can't I do it again?
Yeah.
That's my goal.
And speaking of percentages, a 14,000% increase in downloads on Spotify.
Yeah.
That's no joke right there.
Yeah. It's that's the truth. And it's like, okay, if I can do that, I can do it again. There's no rhyme or reason that I can't. And it's like I'm getting more confident, I would say, because I'm learning more about the industry, how it works, how it moves, how to place things, how to move things, how to write. My songwriting, if you go back to the very beginning, it wasn't the best. But I think if you just do, 1 minute of doing is better than 24 hours of thinking. If you just take action and you just do it and put it out there, sink or swim now. So you might as well swim. Well, it's that easy, because your body will not let you sink. It will fight. And if you fight for it, fight for what you want, fight for what you love, you will grow. And that's my goal. It's like, I want to hit more percentages, higher growth, get bigger, get into those rooms. And that's the goal, is how do you get into the rooms? You make a name for yourself. And that's an easier way to get in versus cold calling,
Are you in rooms of other artists that are where you want to be?
Sort of. I know people who know people. So it's like, and that's one thing. You can get to anyone in the industry. It's a spider web, because everyone knows everyone in this industry. It's just, I guess, how close are you to the center and where are you on the outside? And the bigger you get, the easier it is to get a hold of people, because you have some sort of authenticity. Like, you have some sort of, like, okay, we can trust this guy,
Yeah.
type thing, because you're, like, bigger. They're like, okay.
Yeah. It definitely builds trust at scale. But I think the what you said is true. And I think this game, regardless of what it is, it could be music, it could be real estate, it could be business, it could be relationships, sports, whatever. I think the game is really about being in the right rooms and really getting around players that are where you want to be. And then thinking from a different perspective, you reset the bar every single time that you get around bigger players that are doing it. So I can imagine in your space, getting around a couple key people would be huge. From a mentorship standpoint, do you have one person right now that you're like, hey, this person's kind of walked my path already that can hit up?
I think that's been the best part, is my producer. He's about similar size as I am. But yeah, every time it's just been like, if I have questions, he can answer them because he's done it. So it's like when you listen to someone who's already done it and doing it, and you're like, okay, this worked, this didn't, do this, don't do this. That saves you time, money, energy, all that.
Yeah.
You just
It shortcuts the path from
it
point A
does.
to point B. So real quick, I want to talk about the farm life. You're driving big rig semi trucks during the day.
Yeah.
You're performing at night. Tell me about that. Like, how did that come to fruition? What are you driving there?
So the farm lifestyle, it's crazy. It's a generational thing to get into nowadays because it's just too hard. The input costs of things are unreal. I mean, driving a tractor nowadays costs $500,000. Combine $750,000. Planter $500,000. Semis cost you with truck trailer, you're looking at $300,000 for that too. And it's like, okay, this is all new stuff, obviously, but it's like, okay, that's kind of the game you get into. But I think that's what's also driven my entrepreneurial mindset is my dad would just be like, okay, here is essentially $500,000. Go run it, figure it out. Right. And I think that's what put that can do attitude in my mind is it's like, I can figure anything out type mind. It's like, okay, this is how you drive this is how you do this. And I think every farm kid has that upbringing where it's just like sink or swim again. So that's how that works. But yeah, my lifestyle, it's different than most. It's a lifestyle that I wish everyone could have because it's a peaceful life. It's the most satisfying thing in the world because you get to see things start from nothing, where you till it, you plant it, then you see it come up, and then you have to spray it, and then you have to then you harvest it, and then you get to redig it under. It's like you get to see the most satisfying process of life that factors into everyone's daily life, like the clothes you're wearing, the drinks, the anything that you have. Essentially, farming touched some sort of aspect. It's the beginning of everything, and without it, a lot of other industries would crumble. It's just crazy how it actually affects everything and how automated they've made the industry.
So, how many trucks do you guys have, and how do you guys exactly make money within the business?
Yeah, so
And this is a family business?
yeah,
That's
so
dope.
we are farmers, but way back when my grandpa bought a grain elevator, that's the next
What's that?
So it's the next step up, basically my grandpa vertically integrated with what he did. So when he was younger, he sold 80 acres of farmland and bought a grain elevator. And what that does is it stores and holds grain, corn, soybeans, and stuff like that. So then from there, they basically become like a bigger farmer, if you want to call it that, where they are dealing with millions of bushels. And then they just market it, trying to make the return on contracts with ethanol plants, soybean processing plants, being like, okay, we will negotiate, we'll give you 1,000,000 bushels for X amount of price versus like, because everything we base off of is the Chicago Board of Trade. So it's like, okay, what's a CBOT? What is the current market price? And then what an elevator does is like, okay, well, we got this much in bulk, basically bulk. And it's like, okay, what will you give us for a price? So they're just trying to essentially play the game of levels of margin. That's what it is, margin. So they take it for a basis.
Yeah,
and
you're just basically you're pocketing a spread.
bingo.
It's arbitrage.
Essentially, yeah.
This is your cost to buy it, and then this is what you're selling it for.
What's crazy is though, it changes every day. So you might buy it might be the worst thing you did, or you might buy it might be the best thing. But from the farming standpoint, it's like we get to see both sides. We get to see the underneath layer and then the above layer, and then after that's the ethanol plants, and after that it goes to all the companies, of S.C. Johnson to whatever afterwards. Trucks come and take
Yeah.
stuff. But
So, what's your role within the company?
so I'm a farm manager.
Farm
But
manager. Okay.
my whole life, I've been working for the farm.
Yeah.
Been working for Schmitz Grain Inc., which is the grain elevator side of things. And from there, I basically am filling in wherever someone's missing. But that's my favorite thing because it's not monotonous in what I do. Every day I'm going from running a grain elevator to driving a semi, to driving a tractor, to a sprayer, a spreader,
Damn.
you name it. It's like, it's so fun.
So you know all the roles within the farming of
Absolutely.
that business.
Yeah.
Damn. How many team members are within that business?
So farming's became so automated over the last, just 100 years. My grandpa was started with horses. Now I have a tractor that I can throw the steering wheel up, recline my seat. It'll plant around the whole field for me, plant all the lines. I don't have to touch it at all. It is completely automated, basically autonomous with a guy sitting in it. It's insane. Needless to
Damn.
say, it is insane.
Yeah. And then how many trucks do you guys have?
We have 26 trucks
26
for
trucks, damn.
Schmitz grading.
And where you typically, what's the typical route? Are you guys going all over the country, or are you just going
We're
to, like,
regional, so it's more or less like you can go to Iowa. So I'm in Southwest Minnesota.
Yeah.
So we dive in northern Iowa. We dive into South Dakota. We dive into eastern Minnesota a little bit. It's just kind of, you keep it regional because it just makes sense. Wear and tear trucks, stuff like that.
and so you guys have a big warehouse too?
Yeah, I mean, when you say warehouse, you're talking holding corn and soybeans or like
Yeah.
equipment?
Both.
Yes, to both.
Okay, both. So it's all one facility?
Well, kind of yes and no. We have 7 different, well, so after my grandpa bought it, my dad and uncle took over the grain elevator, and then they expanded it to 7 different grain elevators. So there's 7 different locations there, and they have one big agronomy center in Slayton, Minnesota, and that's composed of your chemical fertilizer seed, and from there, that's where you do the agronomy stuff. But yeah, our warehouses are all over, and we haul for farmers too. So our trucks can, I think in a given year, we haul 20-some million bushels of corn or in beans, composite. Like that's a lot.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: if the country music, like, and I think that you have everything it takes
Absolutely.
to really pop off. I mean, you've already shown it. But is there going to be a day where you get over pursuing the country music and you're just like, hey, I'm gonna go in and really grow this thing? Or are you like, hey, because for me, there's something to be said about building your own thing. Like, what gets you more excited? Is it going and doing the farmland stuff and carrying on the family tradition, or is it like, hey, I want to go build my own destiny as a singer-songwriter?
Absolutely, I think it's both.
It's both. Okay.
That's the answer I would give, because they both give 2 different aspects of life. One's a generational thing. The other is you're building your own thing. So I can and will be successful in farming because I have the greatest mentors in the area. They will tell me all the rights, all the wrongs. Eventually, I'll have to do it all, but they will save me the headache, and they will help me all the step of the way, which is my dad and my father. Music-wise, that's my own thing, and it's like I get to use both. And right now, my farming is paying for my music. Hopefully, my music pays for farming, because there is very bad years in farming. Like this year isn't horrible, but the numbers that we discuss are massive amount of input numbers. Like, you heard $500,000, $750,000, but the profit afterwards doesn't reflect always the input cost. You're getting a big gross payout, but the net is what I'm talking about. That's like, sometimes you're negative. It's the truth. And a lot of people, I guess, have a hard time accepting that, but the markets just go bad sometimes.
Now, on a good year, are the margins pretty decent, or is it still pretty lean on a good year?
No, on a good year, you can
really
make good money.
Yeah.
But it's like, you got to be smart with that, because now, and that's the thing, everything that I've learned in my own personal brand, farming, Schmitz Grain Inc., all the different things that I've learned from, is everything comes down to strategy. You have unlimited options with limited resources. So what are you going to use your limited resources for? Essentially, that's what strategy is. So that's what it all comes down to. And the people who grow are like the people who are really good at the markets. And people are like, how are you so good at the markets? Well, they found out a strategy that works for them, where they're like, okay, we can save X amount of grain and then sell it when it gets high. But you have to pay storage. You have to pay all the different stuff on top of it. So it's just it's a game. It's a strategy. And so many people would be like, let me go buy a tractor. Some people would be like, let me go buy land. Right now I'm in the process of buying 80 acres of farmland, and it's awesome, but it's also it's a questionable move at such a young age. It's like, do you do it? Do you not do it? So it's just kind of
What is something like that run? 80 acres of farmland?
So where I'm from, your typical, per county, it depends on your area. So where I'm from, 11 grand is typically the per acre, how much it costs. So, I mean, you can do the math on that, 11 times 80 acres and stuff like that. But if you go south in northern Iowa, where people have lots of cattle, lots of pigs, they need the land for like where to spread manure or where to do all this different stuff. So they will be fighting for that land. And I've seen land prices down there. There's been spikes up to like 27 grand per acre, which
that's almost 3x on your money.
Yeah. But people, it's generational. So people do not want to sell their land, and they don't want to move. So they're like, well, they just fight for it. It's a land. It's fun.
Out here in San Diego, we'd be lucky to get 5,000 square foot lot, bro.
Yeah. So typical 1 acre is what, 43,560 square feet. something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy. What makes farming interesting, land prices are only going up. My grandpa bought it for $100. Like when he first started. My dad bought it for about $1,000. I'm buying it for 10,000 some dollars now. And every single day in America, 2,000 acres of farmland get developed by urbanization.
Damn.
So in a given year, that's 740,000 acres. And then you're looking at 4.3 acres per second.
Damn.
If the math was right there.
Damn,
I
that's
think
crazy. Say that stat again?
Yeah. So in America, 2,000 acres per day get developed by urbanization. In a given year, that's 740,000 acres. That's 750,000. And then per second, 4.3 acres get developed. So farmland's only going up because you're getting less of it.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. I do see there is some farmland out here in California.
Really?
I wonder what the difference is between farmland out here and what you guys are doing.
Do you know what they typically raise out here? Is it
I
vineyards,
don't know,
like
but if you
grapes
go a
and
little
stuff?
bit inland in California, there's plenty of farmland. I have no idea. I know
Okay.
there's definitely like you'll see like orchards with like a bunch of trees, or they might be fruits. You'll see strawberry fields,
Oh, interesting.
stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's different? I wonder what the land is out here for that stuff, because like Illinois, that is like the farming capital area because they can raise.
Really? I would think it'd get too cold up there.
Oh, well, Illinois is actually south of us, so that's
Really?
actually good. Yeah.
Cold.
So they got like they can get like 300 bushel corn because they have a longer growing season since they're more south. Where we can typically get like 200. So they're getting 100 more bushels. So when you're playing the market of like, let's say the market of corn's at $5, well, they can bring in an extra, why can't I do math? 500 times whatever, how many acres there are.
So the cold weather where you guys are at, that doesn't affect the growth of the farm?
It doesn't typically, because you have different hybrids of genetics in corn and soybeans. So we will plant shorter day corn hybrids essentially, so that they don't get frosted off and stuff like that. There's been years where people do plant late varieties and they get frosted off and they lose that yield. But typically where you're at zone-wise, you typically try to stay within that day range so you don't get stuck with something bad like that.
Interesting stuff. So question for you. If there's someone listening to this right now and they're like, hey, I want to get in the music scene. I want to become a singer-songwriter. I want to get into country music. What is the first thing you would suggest they do if they don't know where to start?
If they don't know
and
where
they're
to
like, hey, I want to do it, but I don't know where to start.
I would just start. That is the
Just go start what? Singing?
yeah. Just first off, you got to write a song. You know, you gotta write it. You gotta get it produced. The step goes like this for me. I write a song. I go get it produced. I distribute it via my distributor, which I use DistroKid right now. And from there, it goes out on every single platform. And then from there, after that, I advertise it on all my platforms of Instagram, TikTok, all the stuff. And then just keep doing it. Repeat the process over and over again.
Yeah, I love it. Blake, appreciate you coming down, man. Appreciate you talking shop. I'm a big fan of everything you're doing. And you're going to be at the holiday event tomorrow night. So looking forward to celebrating the end of the year with you. Where can the folks get in touch with you if they want to learn more? Where can the folks get in touch with you if they want to listen to your music?
Absolutely. Go to Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, Deezer, YouTube, any platform that plays music. Search Blake Schmitz and you will find it right there.
And Instagram, Blake_Schmitz. He's Blake Schmitz, always dropping it like it's hot, farmland or with the music. I'm Rich Summers. Listeners, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.